Welcome back everyone. One of the more controversial Lakers signings involved bringing back D'Angelo Russell, who they acquired for a second time at the 2023 trade deadline, with the first time of course being with them drafting him back in 2015. And while everything began great for him during his second time around, that eventually took a turn during the conference finals, where he unfortunately failed to provide the same kind of production that he did during their previous two playoff matchups. And let's be clear about that, D'Lo did not have a bad postseason overall. He definitely did underperform during the conference finals, but the narrative has shifted to him being bad throughout the entire playoffs, which is simply not true. I know we tend to have short-term memory when it comes to the NBA, but let's not confuse that. D'Lo is key for them during both round 1 and round 2 of the playoffs, and I would argue that they would have not made it that far without him. I think the Lakers realized that to some degree too, as they likely would have not brought him back without feeling that way. Again, it was kind of controversial, but they re-signed him to a 2-year, $37 million contract, including a player option year number 2. But with all of that in mind, that does not mean that D'Lo is guaranteed to remain on their team for that duration. In fact, many believe that he might not even make it through this season. Another topic that has come up lately includes where D'Lo will be within their rotation. It's been widely assumed that he will once again be included in their starting lineup, but there are those that believe he should come off the bench for them, with Gabe Vincent taking over his starting job. But is any of that really likely to happen, or are we simply getting bored during the offseason? Maybe it's a little bit of both, but we're going to talk about all of that in today's video. Real quick before we get into it though, if you are looking for non-Lakers related NBA content from me, then be sure to check out my second channel, JSM+. I do more of a podcast style over there, but we really try and talk about the entire NBA and not simply the Lakers, and we just got done covering the Memphis Grizzlies' new team. So if that sounds like the type of content you might enjoy, then I would really appreciate it if you checked it out. There will be a link for it in the video description down below. But without wasting any more time here, let's get back to today's topic. And we'll begin by talking about where D'Angelo Russell will likely fall within their rotation. A majority of the talk about this came from a report from Jovan Buha of The Athletic, who mentioned the possibility of Gabe Vincent taking over the starting job, though he did clarify that he believes D'Lo has the quote-unquote slight advantage here. And in my opinion, he probably has more than only a slight one. Not only is D'Lo the returning starter from last season, but they already know that he fits in their lineup offensively. And we don't know about that with Gabe Vincent quite yet. I mean, I am all for him being a part of their closing lineup potentially, but we do need to see more of him before ever naming him a starter. And with the Lakers wanting more of a point guard in their lineup compared to a combo guard, D'Lo really makes a lot more sense here. LeBron does not like to play point guard full time. I wish he did, but he quite obviously does not. And knowing that, they really need to have another player out there who can create plays for them. Austin Reeves could eventually be that for them, and maybe even later this season, but D'Lo proved to be very reliable in that role for them too. Following the trade deadline, he already led their team in assists per game, and not only that, but he was very efficient in that role too, nearly having 3 assists for every 1 turnover that he committed. And then, despite the playoff narrative surrounding him, his playmaking ability continued to be effective there as well. He was second on their team in assists per game even while playing under 30 minutes per game. And while I really do like Gabe Vincent, I think it makes sense to bring him off the bench. He is taking over the Dennis Schroeder role for them after all, and that will involve bringing defensive energy off their bench. Again, I am fully in support of him being a part of their closing lineups, but I'm not a big fan of including him in their starting lineup. No matter how you want to look at it, I think it makes a lot more sense to include D'Angelo Russell in there. But how about the possibility of a trade involving him? Not right now of course, but maybe at the trade deadline. That was the second part of Buha's report from earlier, and I would be lying if I said that it's not a possibility. Now, I'm not sure how likely one it is, as we really need more time to determine that, but what it will really come down to here is the production they get from Gabe Vincent, if Austin Reeves can take another leap forward as a playmaker for them, the health of their team, and then of course how D'Lo looks in year number 2 with them. All of that will be a factor in how they feel about D'Angelo Russell at the trade deadline. It will not be one thing alone that makes them either keep or move on from him. And I for one think that we often tend to overlook the power of team chemistry and team continuity. You don't always have to make a big trade or free agent signing to improve your team. I mean, it's not like they have been together for very long to begin with. LeBron and Anthony Davis have been, but their post-trade deadline team was practically brand new. It's very rare for a team to completely revamp their roster in the middle of the year like that. They made 3 different trades that involve bringing in a total of 5 different players, and that total would go to 8 if you include the earlier addition of Rui Hachimura, and then the later addition of Shaquille Harrison and Tristan Thompson. Again, it's incredibly rare for a team to do all of that at the trade deadline, let alone immediately become better after doing it, and not to mention that they dealt with multiple injuries throughout that time frame. Because shortly after the deadline, they lost LeBron for over a month due to a foot injury, were without D'Angelo Russell for a short time due to an ankle injury, and then barely had Mo Bamba before he hurt his ankle as well. Now, they did of course make a few changes to that team, but they were able to retain a majority of their playoff rotation, and I believe they can improve by developing their team chemistry and continuity alone. In my opinion, a full training camp together will do wonders for them. They all appear to get along, and we know they fit together too. I mean, they would have not made it to the conference finals without that. I truly believe they can take another step forward by simply remaining together, and given that nobody gets hurt or becomes angry at their individual role, I see no reason for them having to trade D'Angelo Russell. I know that many of us are a bit down on him right now, but let's not completely write him off here. D'Angelo Russell can definitely help them win ball games, and I would only trade him if it became blatantly obvious that it needs to happen, which would include a few different possibilities, but the primary one would involve him becoming angry with his individual role. We have seen him drop hints about that at times, and you already know that D'Lo is not afraid to let himself be heard. Again, I really don't think that should be a problem due to him fitting well within their rotation, along with him being a borderline lock for their starting lineup, but you can never completely rule it out, and if that happens, then yes, I would look to move on from him. Although they would need to do it without devaluing him. That was something they dealt with during the Westbrook fiasco, and while his bloated contract obviously did not help them with that, the even bigger problem was their off-court relationship with him. But the only other way I'd trade him is if they desperately need help due to an injury. Let's say they're without LeBron or Anthony Davis for an extended period of time around the trade deadline and cannot afford to drop any lower within the standings. That could maybe cause them to feel the need to trade him. Now, they would have to be getting good production from both Reeves and Vincent to feel confident about doing that, but it could potentially become a possibility, and that would be the only other obvious way I could see them exploring a trade for D'Angelo Russell. We cannot predict something completely unexpected happening here, and with that in mind, I think it's more likely that they keep him rather than trade him. Again, I believe in their ability to improve from a team chemistry and team continuity standpoint alone, and that could really make all the difference for them. With all of that in mind though, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the future of D'Angelo Russell with the Lakers, both from the standpoint of his role within their rotation, and then with him remaining with them past the trade deadline? Comment your thoughts down below. That will do it for this video though. Big thank you to those of you who took the time to watch until the end of this video, and until the end of all of my videos in general. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on notifications to get notified right away when I drop a new video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.